All right, Mo.
Yeah, man.
You knocking on the door. What year is this?
10.
10.
Yeah.
A fucking 10.
10.
Man.
A whole dime.
Dog. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, sir.
And we say it jokingly to mask the pain. But that's I'm being 100. Like
no pain.
I've never experienced that.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? So big ups to you and for visionaries that don't know, Mo and his wife, his beautiful wife, are about to celebrate 10 years of marriage.
Yes, thank you, sir.
So
much appreciated to my queen, and thank you for rocking with me and allowing me to get the as you call it, the tent poles down of this empire we are putting together. So much appreciated, Sugar Beans. I love you.
Yes, yeah, me too, Sugar Beans.
Watch out. That's why you're not married.
Tam.
That's why you're not married. So you play too much.
But no, seriously. Very happy for you. Obviously, you and Tamara have a beautiful daughter, Zuri. I've got my two beautiful daughters, Anaya and Harper. And we're closing out a very
interesting month.
Not only is it interesting, but it's also a month in which we probably don't give enough recognition to.
Correct.
Especially from the seat that we're sitting in. Right, as fathers of three daughters, and you with the spouse, right? You with the wife. We've had the privilege of having Christy Kearns on the show earlier this month, as well as Sidra, and they both talked about being survivors of domestic violence.
Yep.
And so we're very fortunate and blessed in the network that we have. Obviously, we record here at the Astute Gentleman Barber and Cigar Lounge here in Addison. Shout out to OG Jeff Davis. Thank you for everything that you do for us and allow us the opportunity to create this platform so we can talk and educate and talk to people about becoming the best versions of ourselves. But inside of that, Mo, like who would have thought that we could be talking to OG's wife, who has a very, very paramount position.
Yes.
Within the domestic violence sphere. And so we're going to get into that. But welcome back to the Vision Lab podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. The Vision Lab is the official growth mindset podcast for all visionaries worldwide. And we're showing mad love to the cigar community. It's here in the lab where we uncover people's visions and dreams and how those dreams actually come into fruition. Mo, who do we have on the show today?
Today's guest is a native of Chicago who has been a longtime resident of Funky Town. Fort Worth.
Funky Town, Fort Worth.
As you said, she is the wife of OG Jeff Davis.
Yes.
She is affiliated and part of the operation at the Family Place. She is a voiceover actress.
Yes.
Amongst many other talents. Please welcome the wonderful Kimberly Davis to the Vision Lab podcast.
I love that. Listen, I need you to announce me everywhere I go.
Come on now.
Consider it done.
I need this.
Come on.
We're working on our Steve Harvey.
Yeah, we work for free drinks, okay?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm honored.
No,
I
honestly, this is big. Thank you for jumping into the lab. Obviously, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and what you've done. For us, as well as what you're doing, from a normal 9-to-5 workplace environment. We're closing out Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's important for the Vision Lab podcast to we have this platform. We want to be able to talk about some of the tough issues, right? I think with our generation in particular, like you kind of grew up sweeping that stuff under the rug, right? Like, it happens, but you turn a blind eye. And thank God, right, that those things have changed over the last 20, 25 years, 30 years, or what have you. And there are now resources that are available. So, as we had these conversations kind of offline, we've been very fortunate and blessed to have two domestic violence survivors share their story. But I thought it would be super appropriate for us to kind of talk about from a survivor perspective that there's help and there are resources that are out there. And a lot of times I'm really big on, we're coming up, we're in this political season, right? And one of the things that really gets me unnerved is when people talk about fact checking, right?
Yeah.
and then they don't ever really give you where to go to quote unquote fact check. And so for us, the opportunity for you to say, hey, there's help out there. Okay, well, where's the help? Well, now we've got somebody in the lab talking about we are a resource. We provide help to domestic violence survivors. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for jumping into the lab with us.
It's my pleasure. It's really an honor, and it's really important that Black men, are highlighting this issue and willing to talk about it in a public place. Because here's the thing: before we go into where the help is, because there's lots of help. People that aren't abused don't know about it because it's not in a regular conversation. But there is lots of help. But I want to start back at where it starts. And the fact that you said being two men who have daughters,
yes,
who
ma'am.
have women in your life that you love.
Yes, ma'am.
It really eradicating domestic violence against women. And there is domestic violence against men, but we're going to talk about against women for all intents and purposes.
Yes, ma'am.
It starts with you guys. Because here's the thing. Who are the offenders? Males. Who do they know? Other males. So when you're in a circle of men and you hear an inappropriate comment or conversation,
it's up to us to handle it there.
Check 'em.
You've got to check them right there, like we do children. Like my mother said in my day, you get it where you do it. So if you're standing next to a brother and he's saying something out the side of his neck, and you're like, well, that sounds a little bit dangerous. I don't, your woman, talk to him about it, because we're fostering an environment of masculine toxicity. Men are toxic sometimes. So toxic masculinity is the words I want to use. And it's not on purpose. It's not that men set out to be abusers. A lot of men are raised in environments where they're taught, don't show your emotions. Don't cry. You just skinned your knee, you all right.
Yeah.
What does that do?
And desensitizes you.
Calluses.
It breeds a lack of emotion. Not only do you not recognize yours, you can't recognize it in anybody else. And if you don't love it in yourself, you can't respect emotion in a woman. So some men who have been raised with this toxic masculinity, they don't even realize that it's abuse. Because they were abused, because they weren't allowed to have emotions. And that's where it starts. That's where it starts.
No, there's not a large leg to stand on to argue against that. But you're gonna hear the argument. Well, she pushed me. She provoked me. She created XYZ situation, and I got fed up.
I snapped.
I
blacked out.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened. And not to say that those things don't exist, right? I think that in this world, like, people need to understand who's culpable, right? It's never okay to put your hands on a woman. Like, physically, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not holistically, but overall, men are stronger than women.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not okay. And I have a very, very, very big problem with it, because I got a sister, have a mother, I've got 2 daughters. Like, that's not cool, bro. You know, and so, like, when we're in those inner circles where, you know, you're talking to your homies and this, that, and the third, like, like, men, step up, check your dude, check your homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool, bro. And so, you know, one of the things that people don't really realize is that there is help.
Absolutely.
Institutions.
Absolutely.
That are out there. And so you work with Family Place.
I work with an amazing place. It fell into my lap. It is the Family Place. The Family Place has multiple counseling centers and shelters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Is this nationwide, or is this exclusive?
The Family Place is exclusive to Texas.
Okay.
However, we are building and have built a platform that houses multiple facilities, some that have shelters, some that do not. They're all resources for domestic violence. But you can find them all in one place on the website.
And what's the website?
It's dvbeds.org.
One more time?
Just the letters, dvbeds, beds.org.
Love it. Love it. Can we get real?
Absolutely.
I think it's important for our guests, or our visionaries, to know what's on the other side of this. When you're meeting a survivor, what are some of the things that they've expressed or communicated to you that they've dealt with on a physical nature?
Okay. Like I told you when we talked about this, it's more than just physical. But since that's your question, we'll start there.
Okay.
Physical nature. I have one survivor who was beautiful Hispanic woman, and she had you remember the Glamour Shots photo shoots?
Shout out to Glamour Shots.
So she looked this way until her husband met her. He met her Glamour Shot ready. Hair, makeup, sexy, clothes, boobies, everything.
Yeah.
He began to fight her when she would get dressed and look like he met her. And she didn't pay attention to it because she thought we were just having a fight. But years later, when you look back at it, every time I went to do this happened. He had her in a position where he had beaten her for so long, she wouldn't comb her hair, ponytail, no makeup, no nail polish, no nothing. Now she has a fear or an anxiety to putting herself together because every time I did previously,
I got my ass beat. Yeah.
Young woman, 26, 7 children.
Good Lord, it's busy.
So not only is it the physical abuse, right? But if I have you pregnant, you can't afford to go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can't leave me. So that's another type of physical abuse. But I don't realize that. My husband is giving it to me. He making love to me. He loves me. I'm sexy to him because we keep making these babies. This man was 10 years older than her. He slapped her a couple times, but the babies was the thing. I always have you. You're not smart enough to go anywhere. You don't have any money. You didn't have a job when I met you, and because you're pregnant every year,
You can't do nothing.
you can't do anything.
Yep.
They prey on the vulnerability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only do they prey on the vulnerability, like attracts like. So if you're a broken man, you don't even know that's what you're looking for sometimes, and you find it. And you're a broken woman, you get found by a broken man.
Trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding.
I'm curious, in your experience, have you, in the conversations and communications that's taking place with the survivors, have they expressed like, hey, my partner, my husband, whatever, grew up around this? Like, is it second nature to them? Or is it more like, hey, this was a one-off that it eventually became a habitual thing?
Both. Abuse is really tricky, right? Because not the majority of men start off intentionally being physically abusive. The majority of physical abuse doesn't start at, I see her and I know I want to beat her. That's not how it goes. So some of it is a man has been exposed as a child. He's been abused himself.
Hurt people hurt people.
He watched his father do it to his mother, or he was abused by his parents or someone in his life. So that's in my psyche now. I don't know I'm an abuser.
He's been programmed like this is how you handle disputes.
Right. And then we give people out. You blacked out. I got so mad I don't know what I was doing. For me, I understand that mentally, there are people who have blackouts. Medically, you have things wrong with you, and
it's a chemical
you
imbalance.
lose a moment of time.
Sure.
But you cannot tell me that the majority of people who do bad things, physical abuse, other types of abuse, you can't tell me you just blacked out and when you woke up, her was beaten, she was bloody on the floor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you just had a fit of rage. It's a severe level of emotional immaturity.
It's emotional immaturity, and it's, people like to use the gaslighting. I'm not with all of the new terms, but that's what people do. Well, it's your fault. You made me mad, girl. I got a temper. But see, when we were dating, it was cute when he was pretending mad, right?
Girl, he just protective of me.
That's how
he
you
just want to make sure I'm safe.
That's how you bait it in. He don't really mean it. Yeah, he does. But see, he's training you. And he may not even know he's training you.
Yeah.
Because the toxic masculinity says that if you're mine, I own you. And so that's another way that men become abusers. Because if you're my property, I don't feel any kind of way about doing what I want to do to you. Sexually, emotionally, financially, physically. Because you're mine.
So you just said something that sparked my memory. We talked about this prior to you getting on the show. and you're like, there's other abuses that exist. And you talked about financial abuse, which was, a revelation for me. I don't think a lot of people realize that there is financial abuse.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. Financial abuse, just like the young lady who didn't have a job. And it happens with women who have careers, who have their own money. They meet a man, they fall in love. He says, let me take care of you. Well, we all want that. Take care of me. What? I don't have to work?
It's a woman's dream.
But maybe it's not. Because if you're volunteering to take care of me, you could potentially have ulterior motives. Because now if you're cutting me off from the people I work with, you're stranding me on the island with you. You're cutting me off from my own financial security. I can't make a move if I don't ask you. Now I'm at home.
And setting a trap.
In a trap. I don't have a way to make money. I don't have a bank account of my own because you take care of me, so I get my allowance from you. So when you're mad at me and you're ready to take my money,
You just cut me off.
you just cut me off. That's a form of abuse. You're making me behave a certain way. And until I do that, you don't turn my money back on.
Are you seeing survivors come to you with those stories?
Absolutely. And high earning people. High earning people.
Really?
High earning people. And they come in the door saying, I'm so embarrassed. How did I let this happen to me?
And it's not a physical thing.
No. I live in Highland Park. We have a beautiful home. How did I get here? He moved you from your family. Because I'm going to take care of you. Let me go buy you this big house. We're an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, states away from your people. You don't have to work. And then years go by, and I realize you're not allowing me to see my family. Because I have to ask your permission.
You look up, I ain't seen my mom in 6 months.
Or longer.
My mother passed away, and I didn't get to go.
Oh, no.
I'm 45 years old, educated, European woman, and I'm stuck in this relationship, and he's threatening me with the money. Now, he never laid a hand on me, but mental and emotional and financial abuse will still put a woman in a situation where she feels she has no out. And how do you get out? I'm embarrassed. How do I go to people and say,
You cut off from your social circles.
no social circles? That's the game. That's the game. Get you on an island by yourself. And I tell people to always pay attention to your friends and your family members. Because when holidays come up and they stop showing up, we say, oh, because they in a new relationship. They in the honeymoon phase. It might not be that. Check in on your people.
That's a message right there. You don't think about it because it's glossed over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's Lisa, she's just with her husband and they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
And then that was Christmas. And then all of a sudden you don't see her for Mother's Day, and then you don't see her for Father's Day, and then you don't see her for the 4th of July or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So we gloss over that and you just kind of accept that, oh, well, she's just, clinging to her husband.
She's secluded and she's embarrassed and she may not even be allowed. Because if I tell my good friend, if we gainfully employed together, we both women out here getting it, and then 6 months go by, I don't see you, are you going to tell me the situation you're in? No, because now you're embarrassed. How did I get here? We were together. We were colleagues. And now I'm on an allowance and a leash.
I think it's super important to make this distinction that it can happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you mentioned Highland Park, and for those visionaries that are not here in the DFW Metroplex, I mean, that's a
very
affluent, well-to-do area in Dallas, Fort Worth.
And it doesn't matter your race. Abuse does not care. Black, white, Hispanic.
It knows no color.
Indian, it knows no color. It really doesn't. And it's sad to see these women come through the door, and when putting on pink nail polish makes you feel empowered, because you hadn't been able to.
This is a sidebar, but since you brought up the pink nail polish, is there, breast cancer has pink, like that's their color. Is there a color for
purple? Absolutely.
Purple. Okay.
Purple is the color for domestic violence awareness.
Okay. And that's interesting because purple's also Alzheimer's.
Yep, that's
awareness as well too. So I've got a very kindred relationship with the Alzheimer's Association. But what other types of DV exist? So we talked about physical. We talked about financial.
Verbal.
Okay.
Of course, we know what that is. You calling her a bunch of bees, and he joking. Also, in this age of technology, so we know the bullying, right? Same thing can go
on the internet. Abuse. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to play devil's advocate for a moment here.
Okay.
You mentioned technology. Mo and I are cut from the same cloth. We've had these conversations in the past. Specifically, I want to be very clear. Specifically, with relationship to men, I feel like men today are way more soft than they are from back in the day. That being said, how much, or in your experience, how much of this is like, hey, he just called me out my name a couple of times, one time isolated event, versus this is an ongoing problem? Like, I feel like a lot of times people are too soft and they can embellish and paint a picture that's not accurate. So there's going to be visionaries that are watching this that are saying, I cussed her out. I did do that, but you know what? I don't do that all the time. So what would your response be to that?
I think and you stop me if I'm wrong. What's the line of demarcation between, hey, you know, we just had a blow up and we had an argument with each other and we exchanged words versus,
and now you want to go to the extreme.
Yeah, like what's the difference between like, hey, you know what, we had a disagreement and we went at each other, we exchanged words. There's that side of the coin versus like, no, this is an abusive cycle. Right. And every time we have a disagreement over the smallest thing, it turns into an all-out shouting match and it progresses. So what's, in your experience, like what's the line of demarcation, or how do you guys, as an organization, how do you kind of help define, like, okay, man, you might not necessarily, y'all had an argument. Yeah. Because we all know we're all married. Sorry.
Mostly.
We all have marriage experience.
Yeah.
There is a difference between like, hey, we just had an argument because we had a disagreement on something versus. Hey,
first of all, let's set the record straight. I ain't never done nothing like that. Okay.
Of course.
Right.
There's a line of demarcation between we just had an argument versus like, no, we got a problem. There's a difference.
So the grand line of demarcation is, did this blow up occur because you were trying to manage my behavior or control my behavior?
Ooh.
So therein lies the beginning or the demarcation for what abuse is. If we have a disagreement, we have a disagreement. I didn't like that you paid this bill late. I didn't like that you bought this shirt. We fought about it because money ain't.
Money's funny.
But are we arguing because you want to control my behavior, my activities, my movements? And this is a continual argument.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Because I'm not conforming. That's the difference.
Okay.
If you can come in and sit down with us and you're having a conversation with one of the counselors and you say, we were yelling at each other because he picked the baby up late. Well, how often does that happen? Usually never, because I'm usually picking the baby up. Okay.
So that is a true isolated incident.
Right.
Which, like you just said, like he never picks the baby up late because I usually pick up the baby. So maybe we miscommunicated that one instance.
Or maybe he just ran late.
But but regardless, the demarcation is, was he trying to do that on purpose to cause or change your behavior? That's where the abuse begins and the argument stopped.
Gotcha.
So the reason why I asked that is because I do have a very close friend of mine who experienced a lot of the verbal abuse, right? Which it was cyclical. You know, this happens and then boom, here's a verbal abuse, right? But I also want to protect men. Absolutely. Because just because you fly off the handle and you don't physically assault a female doesn't mean that you are a abuser, right? Because we live in this society where we have this knee-jerk reaction.
You cannot unring that bell.
Yeah, but one thing we're not going to do on the show is we're going to advocate for the survivors.
Absolutely.
But we're not going to propagate and promote, putting a man under the bus.
Because it's not every man.
Right.
And by no means is that a philosophy that we teach when we're speaking to these women. And also the family place has a program called BIP. BIP is actually for the offender. We actually allow the offender to come and get help as well. Because if you don't fix the problem, you don't fix the problem.
I want to get back to that. I definitely want to talk about that.
We definitely, and as a woman, I love men. There's nothing better in this world to me than men, and specifically a brother, but that's a whole nother thing.
Sorry, Adam.
You know, Adam had a chance when I was 25 and under. My first love was Blind and Blue Eye. We'll get to that another story.
Adam was 1 year old at that time.
Well, listen, his uncle. But I by no means want to put it out there that I feel like all men have abuse as their nature.
Sure.
Because I do not.
Sure.
And I do understand that one isolated incident doesn't make an abuser. However, one isolated incident has to be handled. It has to be called what it is and stopped right there. Because anything you do once, it can get easier the second time around. Mm-hmm. So that's why I started by saying I want men to hold men accountable.
Sure.
Because in Texas, the statistics are 1 in every 3 women will experience domestic violence.
One time in their life?
No. There is no one time or not. It's
multiple.
Reported multiple.
Oh, wow.
Because what is it like? The time she reports it, it's probably happened a few times before she actually decides to report it.
And nationally, the average is still high. It's 1 in 4. But Texas is 1 in 3.
It's 33%.
Yeah. So it's more rampant than you may think. And it may be by men who you know and love.
I'm curious, now that you brought statistics into the framework, is that on the ascend? Is that climbing? Is that a statistic that's rising?
Holding. It's been holding. It used to be 1 in 4 nationally up until a couple years ago, and then Texas took a dive, and Texas is 1 in 3.
Wow.
COVID exposed a whole lot of things.
Close quarters.
Sure. Right?
You gotta really get along with who you with.
Absolutely, gotta like them. So where it was, the one incident, the offshoot here, it's the demarcation line. It's not COVID showed it for what it is. If it is, if you were in a relationship that was even potentially or minutely violent.
It was exacerbated.
It's a breeding ground now. Yeah, it's breeding for everything to come out.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
The stress. There are a lot of, I'm gonna do air quotes, right? There are a lot of abusers will say there are a lot of reasons why the abuse happened. I was stressed. I was sad. I was mad. When you're in those situations, COVID, you're locked in, and there is absolutely
nowhere to go.
And what do? You do what is innately in you to do, because you were in COVID with your wife. Mm-hmm. She didn't become a victim of domestic violence. You were in COVID.
No, she didn't. Not at all.
Mine didn't either.
And exactly. I went through COVID with my spouse. I didn't become an abused woman. So it's not that it's in every man to do. But when it is, it is. And it comes out. You can't tell me that there isn't a conversation you've had with a man, a group of men, and you heard something that you thought was like, man, that nigga,
a little sideways.
I wouldn't do that to my wife. I wouldn't say that.
I had never seen quote unquote domestic violence before until I went to college. I saw a guy, unfortunately, knock a chick unconscious in a club, and it freaked me out. Like, obviously, they escorted him out. Like seeing it happen in real time was like, it's surreal. Like, did that really just happen? Like, I'd never seen a man put his hands on a woman until that night. And it was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like in the aftermath of it, I'm like, man, he just slept a girl in public. Like, she's slumped on stage.
Now, what do you think of her to do it in public?
Hey, there it is.
But I've never put 1 and 1 together to make 2 in my life until just recently. I was speaking at a domestic violence conference in Chicago, the National HOTLINE conference. My mother was a victim of domestic violence, my father. And I grew up in the household together until I was 10 years old. My parents were married. I saw one time my father come out of the bedroom with his pajamas all disheveled. He had long, pretty hair, and he had blood dribbled down his pajamas.
He like Ike Turner getting out the limo.
Right.
Question.
Yeah.
Did he have a Jerry curl?
Not a Jerry curl, naturally straight hair.
Okay.
Yeah. My father's
He looked like Ike.
Pimping.
pimping.
That's Midwest right there.
She said he looked like Ike when he got out that limo.
But I didn't know at that time. I was like maybe 7, 8 years old. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what was happening, but I heard the commotion. I heard the furniture moving. Wasn't a lot of screaming. It was him yelling more than I heard anything else. And he came out of that room, and my mother didn't come out. Now, again, I hadn't been privy to this abuse. Or maybe I had and I didn't know it because I was so young. I'm the third youngest. And what I later learned was that my older sister's job was to play with us, put us in a closet with a game or do something so that me and the middle sister wouldn't hear. But that night, and I remember the color of his pajamas. I remember my mother not coming out and that making me feel some kind of way. Now, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what violence looks like because my parents had never shown me that. I was sheltered from movies. I didn't know. But in me, something was not okay. Mm-hmm. And years later, now I'm doing this, which just came out of nowhere. And I just said it in front of people for the first time, 50 years old. And I've never put that story in words together for anybody until I was talking to the people at the Domestic Violence Convention. What that did for me was made me an angry woman. And I would tell boyfriends, if we're not making love, don't put your hands on me. Because I snap. I want to fight faster than a man. Because if I feel like
I'm gonna get you
might
you
do
get
something
me
to me, I got to get you first.
Yep.
I didn't realize where that came from until I got much older. I told a young man one night, loved this boy, loved him. I was probably all of 24. And I said some of the wickedest. We were having an argument, low argument, sensitive young man. He ain't on that. He did like this when I went to walk away. He grabbed my arm like, don't go.
Triggered.
Woo! I said, listen, if you don't release me, I promise you, if you ever touch me again, we're not making love, I will cut your throat and watch you bleed to death. And I meant every word of it. I was 24. I ain't never been abused. I ain't never been beat up. I ain't never been called a bitch by a man at this point. Where did that come from?
It was tucked away.
Physical abuse hurts everyone involved. And it scars us all. So we have to be conscious of that in every aspect. If you know of a situation where a woman is abusing a man, we take men in as well. You cannot let that stand. Mm-hmm. We as a community of people have the ability to bring these numbers down.
There's a lot to unpack. And for the sake of the show, I'm pivoting. Not as a fear mechanism, but because I don't know the question to ask after that. And where I was loaded to go was, what does your role, your organization do when they are onboarding a new survivor?
Absolutely. Simple. So we have what's called an intake. And the survivor will come in, share her story. We get her enrolled in counseling, whether it's individual counseling or group counseling. We have all the above. We do have counselors that are devoted to sex trafficking and incest, because that's part of the abuse cycle as well.
Wow.
So we get you enrolled, and the children. So if there were any children that were privy to this abuse, we have child psychologists, we have child counselors as well to help with that. Then we have resources. We have all types of resources. We have emergency shelter. So if you're running from a domestic violence situation and you need immediate housing, we have emergency shelter. We have transitional housing for individuals as well as families. So once you're done with the emergency shelter and you need to go ahead and transition into what's going to be next for you, we have transitional housing. Also, there is work programs to help get people back to work, because a lot of times, like I said, these survivors don't have jobs, they don't have finances, or they're running from a situation where they can no longer go back to their job because it's not safe. So we have all those things. We actually also have a location where if you are sharing custody and you've been in an abuse situation, the abuser, male or female, can drop the child off or come visit them at supervised visitation. So we have it set up where the survivor comes in one door at a particular time so that they don't have to see the abuser. The abuser can come in a door 20, 30 minutes later, completely different side of the building, meet with their child, and have supervised visitations with the Dallas PD, counselors, all on hand. So we have all of those resources, and we have resources for this survivor, as well as, like I said, we have the BIP program for the abuser, which they get to come in and get counseling as well to undo the cycle that they're going through that is causing them to be an abuser.
I definitely want to talk about this BIP program, but I want to go back because the survivor has been onboarded, or there's an intake process, and then you mentioned that the abuser can come to the facility and do the supervised visits with the child or children, right? So does the survivor see?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And it's not the same facility. So understand that the supervised visitation is completely separate from our shelter campuses. Those, no one gets to go to those if they're not in shelter. Even employees don't just have the address if that's not where they work. So the supervised location is a completely different location, completely separate. And they don't see each other. That's the whole point. That's why I love the family place.
I love it.
Family place has thought of everything. Yep. My first day there, I go see this facility, and I'm like, what is this? There's a game room, there's a tech room, there's painting, there's all these things. And I said, well, why would the kids leave their paintings here? Family place has thought of everything. We can't send the picture home with the survivor because the abuser is sitting with a child to draw that picture. What if they have them draw something that's going to be triggering to the survivor and send the picture home?
Yeah.
Start the whole cycle back over again.
You can't give technology gifts, no cell phones, no apps, no iPads, no none of that. The survivor, the abuser, you can bring it and let your child play with it. They can't take it with them, because then you can track the child and you can track the survivor. So the family place has pulled out all the stops. It's an amazing organization.
Real quick, Uncle Mo, I want you to give the domestic violence hotline.
Yes.
For anybody that may be dealing with, suffering from, battling through, and just you're looking for a way out, right?
Yeah, the National Domestic Violence Hotline phone number is 1-800-799-7233, or that's SAFE if you spell it out on the phone. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233. So as you know, we finish off Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whatever side of the coin you're on, if you're the abuser or if you're the abused, there, as Ms. Kim has said, there is help out there to alleviate some of these situations. So again, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 1-800-799-7233.
Now, you had said something super interesting prior to us hitting the record button, and that number, that national hotline, will route based off of your geographic location.
Yeah, because a lot of times, for instance, when storms happen, North Carolina, when their shelters went down, they routed all their calls to the national hotline because they weren't there to take the calls. Mm-hmm. So the national hotline is an amazing resource. It's an amazing number. And you can Google shelters, domestic violence counseling. You can Google it. Although you won't get the address to a counseling center or transitional housing, you will get the phone number. Family Place will pop up in a Google search. So if you are a male being abused by a woman, we will help you as well. Because we feel like, oh, if a man is getting abused by a woman, he must be feminine or he must be. No. A lot of men were raised to never hit a woman. And there are aggressive women who will go far enough to hit, hurt, and fight a man. It doesn't make him less of a man because he doesn't hit her back. It doesn't make him less of a man because he wants to stay in his marriage. That doesn't mean he doesn't need help.
In your experience, you know, we're talking about all this, and the word help is ringing in my ear. As you've been talking, it's help. Like, it's whether you're the abuser, the abused, all the what do you call it, ancillary, the ripple effect, the children, the auxiliary family member. Like, everyone feels it. Like, it's a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
When I say the word help in the sphere of this space, especially based off hearing what it is that you do now, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word help? Because I'm sure you, in your experience, some people are just embarrassed to even ask for it, let alone receive it. Yeah. Like, they're just the thought of having to open my mouth and say, I need help. So some people who are so prideful, they can't even get to that step, let alone everything else that comes behind it.
Yeah. The word help to me is synonymous with the word brave. You have to be brave enough. Like you said, there are all manner of reasons why you won't get help. But you have to be brave enough. Even if you're the abuser, you have to be brave enough to say, hey, this is not how I want my life to go. This is not what I want to do. And you can't be afraid of whatever the ramifications are, because there are people that are going to judge either side. But you have to have courage and be brave to get help, even to advise someone to get help.
You've shared a lot of some of the resources that are available. To piggyback on Mo's question, what's on the other side of help?
Good question.
Peace for everybody. Because once you peel back that layer and give your truth, you can breathe.
I'm venturing to guess that the survivor, we're going to use a female in this example. We've heard it on two separate podcasts earlier this month. There's this mental block or feeling that they've got to still protect their abuser.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so...
And that's Stockholm Syndrome? I think it's Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you protect the abuser.
Exactly. And so they've reached out to you, and they're doing the steps to find the help, but there's still this feeling or this notion that I've got to protect him or her, but, protect my abuser. Is there any... Does your organization divulge who the perpetrator was?
No. And to whom? We don't report to any systems. We don't report to the police. No. We're there to help, literally. That's what it is. And our goal is not to make a survivor leave her spouse if that's not what she's prepared to do.
I think that's super important that we stand on that for a second. You know what I mean? So, like, I want you to, again, reiterate that you're not there to rat them out or to tell the authorities what's going on.
When you call for help, regardless of who you are, we'll use a woman for this case, but when you call for help, the point is to get you help, because you have to have counseling. You have to have someone pour into you something that's obviously not there.
That's huge.
And the goal is to get you to realize what you need to do. It's not for me to take you from this person. There are people who are getting help, who are getting counseling, who are still in their situation with their person. They just know that this is not okay, and I need some sort of help with this. So I want counseling.
Do you see survivors and abusers after they've left the program still stay together?
Absolutely.
Because here's why I'm asking that. Somebody's gonna say, "Oh, you don't know Ryan. He loves me. Like, we're just in a bad space right now. He's stressed out. Money's not coming in. I need to get our family help." And they come to you, right? They come to the family place, and you provide them the resources, the help that they need, and you're not turning in Ryan, right? You're not turning in the abuser, and they still have an opportunity to maintain whatever bliss they believe that they can achieve with their partner.
Yeah, we have lots of return survivors
To the
same person. They come and they get the strength they feel they need to make the move they need to make. Or it's a temporary separation. Well, I feel better. I have some tools now. You get back with Ryan because now I know what to do.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
he didn't change though. 6 months, a year later, you're embarrassed again. I got to call y'all back. Me and the kids, I need to, and he's still weak. We're not going to turn you away. There's no, oh, well, you've been here
no
before.
No judgment.
You can't come back. No. As many times as you need to come through those doors to get assistance, we're going to assist you.
I want to give you the opportunity to be human for a second, particularly a female, which you should be good at.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at it.
And there's your camera.
Okay.
Why do you not judge them? Why does the family place not judge them or turn them away? Like, hey, sis, you're really not trying to get the help.
You just said that. Hey, sis. There is no judgment with the family place or any other domestic violence organization that you go to for help, because usually the workers at the domestic violence shelters have been through domestic violence themselves, which is why they're there and they're able to help. That's why there is no judgment for the most part. The other people who've never been through a domestic violence situation, but they're there to help because they genuinely have a heart to help. So you don't have to worry about feeling bad. When you walk through the doors of the family place, you are literally with family.
Absolutely love it. I think it's appropriate. One more time. What's the website?
You can go, for anyone who needs information
or social media
about it. Thefamilyplace.info is a site that will give you the ins and outs, how it works, what it does. You can Google The Family Place. We have a men's shelter and a women's shelter, multiple throughout the city. We're on Google.
So this is something that we have not discussed, Mo.
I'm listening.
I don't want to say we glossed over it because we have identified it, but we haven't dived into it or dove into it, excuse me. On the men's side, like, are you seeing men that are survivors of domestic violence?
Yes.
And what does that whole escapade look like?
Let me make it sound better. What is the avatar of an abused man?
You, Adam, you. It's man. All races, all shapes, all sizes. You have men with children. There are some men who are more nurturing than their female counterpart. The female counterpart can be an angry, abusive person. Now, I can't just leave her with my kids. The same is true for anybody being abused, man or woman. But for a man, she's crazy. She's literally throwing things. She hits me. She's violent with the kids. She's dangerous. So I can't leave the house and leave my children. Where do I go? I don't have any family here. My wife is my family. My wife's family is our family. Then you call the family place because you need a place to go. We need to take the stigma off of a man being abused, right? Because it happens, and it doesn't make him less of a man. It really does not. Some men were abused as children, so they fall into that role easily. But now I'm a grown-up and I have children to think about. But I'm still being abused like I was when I was a boy. Who can help me? I can't tell my boys about this. I can't tell my wife's family. They're going to laugh at me. We raised Brenda.
Y'all don't know Brenda like I do.
Listen, that part.
Brenda been putting them paws on me.
All year.
Beat down Brenda.
It's happening. And it's happening to men as well as women.
It's a tough spot for men because naturally, all intents and purpose, we're stronger than females.
Absolutely.
Right?
Physically, yes.
Physically. And if Ryan is getting abused by Brenda, there's nowhere for me to turn to. I can't turn to Mo and say, hey, my lady's beating my ass.
Yeah.
Mo's going to look at me like, bro, what the hell is wrong with you?
But you have to remember, it's not all just physical.
Sure.
Say emotionally, you're an unstable man. If you've suffered any type of abuse, loss, anything that you've not gotten help or counseling for, you could be unstable. Not crazy, but you have an emotional instability. She could play on that. If I slap you, oh boy, stop playing, you so stupid. Emotionally, he's gonna take that because damn, it's what he's used to. Mm-hmm. He don't realize it. And then she realizes, oh, I can slap that at him, man. He not gonna do nothing. If she's an abusive person, she's gonna take advantage and continue to do it.
Keep pushing
the envelope. Men and women. We'll both do that for sure.
So now you 5 years in and you can't take it no more as a man. You've got children and you can't leave your children with her. What do? You still need help and you're still abused. It doesn't mean she was beating you, bloody in your nose and your eyes, but the same applies for mental, emotional, and financial abuse. It can happen to a man too. And we have same-sex relationships, right?
That's a whole different ball game.
We help whomever needs help. So if you're a male in a same-sex relationship and your partner is abusing you, guess what? You are a survivor of domestic violence. You're having intimate partner violence. And you need help.
So I think the number one question that visionaries are going to ask is, what is my anonymity?
If you're the abuser?
No, if
or either way, you're the survivor?
Either way.
I was really looking at it from a survivor perspective, but both.
HIPAA.
There it is.
Just like the medical field. Mm-hmm. When you come into those doors, even we don't refer to our clients by name.
Really?
When we put them in the system, they get a number. So if I have to email them about somebody, they need something, or they're coming in, or their children, blah, blah, blah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The number.
Yeah.
So you can look into our system, find the number, find the name. We don't.
They have thought of everything.
Everything. Even on the phone, when we're taking their information, they say, okay, I do want to come in for counseling. Where do I go? Do you have a pencil? Because you got to write it down.
Yep.
So you can have it. I'm not emailing it to you. We're not texting it. We're not faxing it. We're not giving the address to people.
Because you don't know who else has access to where they're going to store the information.
And we ask the question in the intake. When I started this job, I started as an admin. I would get the phone call. Hey, okay. You need what? One of the questions in intake is there a safe number that I can call you back at that no one else has access to? Am I able to leave you a voicemail that no one else will hear?
Can't afford to send an email because what if the abuser has access to your email?
Do you have an email that is only yours? So some who have gotten away say, yes, and I understand that. I now have an email, and it's usually a new something, Sarah 2024. She just created
just made it.
At Gmail. Because we keep people's identity safe. It's paramount. If not, we get people killed. Like I said, there are women who are still with their abuser, but they know they need counseling and they know their children need counseling. So they've told their husband something else. We're going to a kid's play date. We're going here. They're actually coming to get help.
So they're moonlighting, for lack of a better term, on getting the counseling that they need.
Yeah.
Until they can get the strength.
Absolutely.
And the mental fortitude.
Or the finances.
To
make a transition.
To transition away.
A lot of people have pets. A lot of people won't leave their pet behind. We're one of the only shelters in this area that have a men's shelter and pet shelter. So you can, if you say to me, I can't come because my cat Lucy is on her last leg. If I leave her, he gonna kill her. Bring Lucy. We got you.
Wow.
It's deep.
And thought all the way through.
That people will give to leave, and the family place has taken away all of those issues.
So you guys really set the table to where, like, okay, you as the survivor have reached out to us for help. We're going to take care of all avenues to where you can just focus on getting the help that you need.
You've eliminated excuses.
Absolutely.
We're here for you, sis. We're here for you, bro. We got you.
Yeah.
We're eliminating all excuses.
Yeah.
This has been good.
I'm curious. We slightly touched on it from the perspective of a parent, or specifically the child. What does that transition look like for the child? Because that's outside of me putting Tyrone on blast. I would venture to guess. I have no statistical backing or knowledge, but I'm guessing the next thing, if it's not the first, is my kids, right? As a mother, right? Like, my kids, and the fill in the blank. Like, what are you doing for the children at the organization?
Usually the kids are the first priority, not the survivor themselves.
Sure.
So, like I said, we do have counselors on site for the children, so they can be assessed if there are ever any issues that are bigger than what the counselors can handle. We have other resources for that. The children have, and even for babies, because they have play therapy for children who are too young to even verbalize what it is that's going on with them. There's play therapy. We have that as available as well. We have groups for the kids. We have family night so that the survivors can bring the kids and meet up with other survivors. So the kids have, and other children, I don't have to feel alone. We're going through something. Mommy's going through something. Daddy's going through something. But then we get to come in with these other kids. Oh, their mommies are here too. So the children are taken care of as well.
You've mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned counselors a couple of different times. Mm-hmm. Are any of these counselors licensed or medical professionals, or whatever the legal term is?
Some of them are. We have case managers and we have counselors. So the case managers are not. The case managers are people who may have been abused themselves and they've come out on the other end, or they just have a heart for the help. And they put resources together for the survivors that they manage. They come in, they help them find work, all these things. The counselor side, like I said, we do have incest, and these are people who are certified with incest, human trafficking, all those things. So we have both.
How are you intaking human traffic victims or survivors?
The process for intake is the same.
Uh-huh.
We have to have the conversation. They get with a case manager or a counselor to have the conversation. What's going on? A lot of times people don't even know that they're being abused. They just know something is wrong, or the courts have told them they need to come talk to us.
I guess what I'm asking is, are those survivors like leaving their human trafficking rings?
Well, they've already left. Once they come to us, they've already been rescued from that. Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to come to us.
Yeah, so now they're trying to, now it's okay, this is my first time trying to figure it out.
It's figuring out
the
how did I get
rehabilitation.
there, what's really going on with me, and how not to go back.
Are you guys partnered with any of the local authority organizations?
Well, like I said, we have Dallas PD on site for the visits.
Right.
So they bring people to us. When they find people in situations, they bring them to us.
It's such a remarkable place that you guys, like, what you're doing in terms of the servitude is remarkable.
Yeah, I'm still in awe, and I work there.
Yeah.
I am in absolute awe of this place.
What's one thing that you would like to share about the organization that you guys do that a lot excuse me, that not a lot of people know about?
All the things we do, not a lot of people know about. But one thing is, like I said, we have a lot of survivors on staff.
Uh-huh.
And so the conversations can be different. It doesn't just come from a place of, because I know this from a book. It's
empathy.
a heartfelt,
It's
empathetic. I know exactly what you've been through because I've been there.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So you guys have resources. You've got clinicians. You've got people that are trained in this space, and I think the message. Excuse me, as I battle through this cold, that we really want our visionaries to know is that help is available.
Absolutely.
The only requirement is you just have to take one simple step.
That's it.
It's hard.
Very hard.
I'm not dismissing the challenge and how difficult that is, but if you could just take the step.
Yeah. And if I have sisters, I have women people in my life that I love dearly and would walk over glass. You can be that person for a survivor. You can make the call for them. I've had people call me and say, what do I tell my sister? She needs to get out.
Yeah.
And I say, is she there with you? Put her on the phone. Let us talk. You can be the person, like at church, they tell you, don't be scared if you want to come down to the altar. Neighbor, grab your friend. The same thing with abuse. Same thing with abuse. If you know someone who is being abused and they need help, bring them.
Please say that again. Please say that again.
If you know someone that is being abused and they need help, you can bring them. You can be the one. You can be the catalyst. You could be the person who changes their life.
Saves their life.
Saves their life, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's incredible. I just really, I tip my hat to you, Kimberly, and what you guys are doing. It's beyond admirable, right? There's such a need. And it's unfortunate, but we live in a world where there's, different personalities and people see things and have different backgrounds and et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that we really wanted to emphasize to our survivors is that there's still hope.
Absolutely.
There's still an opportunity.
Absolutely.
There's one minor but major step that you have to take, and that's just reaching out. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you've taken a step already and went back. There is absolutely no judgment.
I love that. Uncle Mo?
We've reached the point in the interview where we're going to land the plane.
Well, let's do it.
Obviously, you are a fan of the show, and you know how this goes. So there are 5 seats at a round table. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, 6 seats. You occupy 1.
Okay.
There are 5 other chairs at the table. You get to have whoever you want, except for God, because you obviously, who wouldn't want to talk to him?
Yeah.
Outside of that, dead or alive, who do you want at your table?
First, I lost my mother when I was 17. She would be there. I would need her there. I love Mandela's life story, and I would love to know how he survived and became who he was.
35 years, right?
Mm-hmm. And I've read plenty of books, and there's some things that he went through. But my mom, Mandela, Maya Angelou, because she was nonverbal and she used her voice for so much good. And as a child, like I said, I was basically nonverbal. The other 2 seats are unoccupied just yet. I haven't met those people. I know there are mentors and people that come into your life at a certain season to move you to your next plane. And I don't know who those 2 people would be.
Normally, I ask our status questions, but I feel like this begets a larger depth of a question.
Okay.
Still simplistic in its form. I feel like you have found your calling. Do you feel you found your calling?
Yeah.
You're in your lane.
I am.
We can hear it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It fell completely. This was all God. Never in a million years would I have said this is an organization that I would be a part of.
And I know we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. This is a phenomenal podcast, but For our visionaries that are still tuning in, how did you get involved with this? Because you're not, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a survivor of domestic violence.
I'm not. It was so crazy. It was me being a social butterfly. A friend of mine said, hey, I'm going away for the weekend with a couple ladies. We're going to go up to a cabin. You want to go? Yeah, I'll go. She worked at the family place. I didn't know what the family place was or what she did. She worked, she had a job. And I went on this cabin trip. And something on the way back, we road tripping girls 4 or 5 hours away. On the way back, I said, I think I'm ready to go back to work. If you guys hear, and I'm just in general, not even at your company, if you guys hear about, an admin position or something, let me know. Now, I said admin because I was in IT before I stopped and started doing voiceover. I never wanted to go back to IT. I didn't want to learn anything hard. I just wanted something easy that I could do. Admin. And the job started as admin. So I was in one of the counseling centers and I got to greet and start the intakes with the ladies. And
went from there.
In 6 months, it turned into managing a DV bed system that helps people find open bed availability.
I absolutely love that. I love the mission that you're on because it's so needed.
Let me say this before we go. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I want people who have resources for domestic violence survivors to reach out to our DV Beds organization that I manage because we house lots of resources in one place. So if you have a resource, if you're a shelter, you know of a shelter, whether in Texas or nationally, because we are making it a national platform, you can reach out and contact me. You can find me on social media, Kimberly Lindsay Davis or Kimberly Davis, and let's get your resource online with us.
Absolutely. I'm hoping, excuse me, I'm hoping that a lot of partnerships are birthed out of this this interview. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's housed on the internet forever. The content was amazing. I beyond applaud the effort, the activities, the resources that you're putting behind this. I think it's an amazing thing. I hate that it has to exist.
Right.
I really do. I wish that your job did not exist. But I'm so grateful that it's you who are helping to spearhead, this endeavor and really help women specifically understand or survivors of domestic violence understand that there are resources, that are available. And so I'm grateful to you for that. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Now, we, in case you didn't know, we do have a magical time machine here in the Vision Lab podcast.
Okay.
With respect to that, what advice would you be giving yourself from 5 years ago?
Start saying no more often.
Ooh.
That is a new one.
Is it?
Start saying no more often.
I like
First
that.
person said, hey, kudos to
It's
you.
pretty strong. It's pretty strong. It's okay to say no.
Absolutely. You have to. You have to. I heard a story of a homeless man. So how'd you get out here? He said, I had a house, I had a family. He said, the only advice, this is the homeless man, the only advice I have for you is don't give all your bricks away. How do you build your house if you gave all the bricks away?
Lord have mercy. It's interesting.
That is a bar.
We talk about books that we're reading and everything. I read Will Smith's book, Will. And he started the book with him and his brother being commanded by his father to build a wall. And
I read the book.
They used bricks.
Yep. And it was a lesson. The bricks are always a lesson.
It's just a lesson. It's just a lesson. So I love that. Okay, so fast forward the clock. You're 5 years older.
Then right now.
than today. Okay? God's good.
What's happening?
God is good.
Come on now.
What advice is the older version of Kimberly Davis? What advice is she looking back to you today and telling you today?
Release your pride.
Come on now. Come on now. That's a bar. Release your pride. Where'd that come from?
I'm a Taurus, and I'm the youngest of 3 sisters that came in. We have 4 sisters, but my youngest she wasn't in the house with us. Being the youngest, I became scrappy. I went to the military, and I became very prideful. Like it's my way, or it don't work.
Pride before the fall.
I don't like doing things that I don't know how to do going into it. Just pride, just ego and pride.
I resonate with that.
Stops me. It had stopped me from getting to my highest happiness, because I don't need to fight about everything. I don't need to fight about everything. You want okay. That's what you okay.
The word that came to my mind was submissiveness, but it's beyond that. It's learning to let go. Mm-hmm. That's really what it ultimately is.
Yeah. I cannot be in control of everything. That's a fact. And me trying to be in control of everything causes me pain, misery, and stress. So if I just release, I'm gonna let you be you.
Be a vessel. Just be a vessel.
I just want to be light, and I want the light to give light. That's it.
I love that. That's good. Pride before the fall. That would be the only thing, advice, if you want to call it that I would say. Final question of the podcast, and thank you so much. Before we completely land the plane, one more time, social media handles for anybody that wants to engage with the family place or yourself. For any survivor that's dealing with this, how can they get a hold of you? How can they find you guys? Phone number or whatever?
I'm going to say Google The Family Place. The Family Place, all the numbers, all the information you need is there. Or you can go to the National Hotline. For me personally, you can reach me on social media, Kimberly Davis.
Love it. Uncle Mo, what is the number for the National Hotline for Domestic Violence?
One more time, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The phone number is 1-800-799-7233. That spells SAFE. Again, it's 1-800-799-7233.
Love it. All right, so final question of the podcast.
Yes, sir.
If you were a book, Mrs. Davis, what would be the title of your book?
She, the me I was meant to be.
Oh, that's good.
I wrote that probably 15 years ago, and I've never written the book. I have the title.
It's time to get writing. It's time to get writing. It's time for you to get into your lab.
Yeah.
Turn on a candlestick or a soft bulb light, and let's get to writing.
I may write the first page before the end of the year just because you said that.
Yeah, at least one page. Love, it's been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Shout out to OG.
No problem. Thank you.
Jeff Davis in allowing his beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wife to jump into the lab with us. Remember, visionaries, each one of our guests are jumping into the lab, dropping nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life. Ultimately, my friends, it's up to you to pick them up. And also, I want to say, if you are struggling, dealing with, or trying to become a survivor of domestic violence, please, please, please do yourself a favor. Contact those numbers that we provided to you guys previously. You do not have to deal with this, and you don't have to deal with it alone. So please seek the help that you guys need.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to our guest, Kimberly Davis, and we will see you guys next time on another great episode of the Vision Lab Podcast.
Blessings.